The Sevier County Sports Report presents the season preview with the Seymour Eagles and Coach Caleb Olive.
All right, we're here with Coach Caleb Olive in his second year at Seymour to talk about the 2026 season. Coach, you're the new guy in town kind of still.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So name's Caleb Olive. I'm from Tullahoma, Tennessee. It's a small town over in southern middle Tennessee. I was born and raised there. Grew up in a coaching family. My dad's a longtime high school football coach. My brother's a coach. So it's kind of been in my blood. It's kind of the family business. And so last spring, moved my family. We've got my wife, Miranda, is a teacher here in Sevier County. She's an assistant principal. And then I've got two sons. I've got JD and Charlie. So we've moved here to East Tennessee, and we love it up here in God's country.
So kind of going back into that, talk about your feelings taking the job last January.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, the bloodline, the 2021 4A championship. So you know what it takes to build a program, watching your dad, great mentor for yourself. What were your feelings taking that job?
I mean, it doesn't matter how often, how many books you read, who you talk to, you're probably never ready to be a head coach. But at least I went into it knowing that, I'm going to make the wrong decision. It's how fast can I change my mistakes, right? How fast can I adapt? It was a whirlwind. I don't remember much of the spring of that first year, as getting my family moved here, and my youngest son Charlie was born a week after I took this job. So I took a month staying at home with my wife and Charlie, and then got here, and then I had to move my family, and so it was definitely a whirlwind experience. I don't suggest people to do that. Move halfway across the state and have a newborn. But it was an experience that we'll never forget. It was the time that we were supposed to leave Tullahoma, and we don't regret it one bit. We knew this is exactly where God wanted us to be.
So this will be your first true off season with your team.
Right.
How has your team looked so far in the summer workouts?
It's been a much calmer off season for me. Selfishly talking about myself, that it was nice that hey, I knew all the kids, I knew all the coaches. Our coach staff stayed the same. And so I didn't have to worry about trying to get to know the players, right? It was, hey, let's go, let's build where we left off. Last year, from week 1 to week 10, we got better as we went. And this group, we got to start where we're there at the end of week 10. It wasn't back to, square one. So it's been a really good off season. Our seniors have really bought in. They've really done a great job of setting the standard that we want here at Seymour football.
So what's impressed you, or who has impressed you the most during the summer workout programs?
All the way through the spring, Corey Helton, returning starter on the D-line for us, is probably our biggest leader for the senior class, and he's really stepped up. I challenged him early in the spring, saying that the kids are, the rest of your teammates have chosen you. You don't know that. We didn't vote, but I'm watching them, and they've said that, hey, you're the one they want us, to be the voice of the team. And so he's done a great job.
What's been the biggest difference between, talking about the time frame that you've had between last year's workouts and this year? What's been the difference between yourself and the team?
We've just adjusted. That's the biggest thing, is that we haven't done the same thing. We took what we thought we did really well last year, and have adapted it to this team. So every day our biggest focus this offseason been getting faster and getting stronger. And so we've put a heavier emphasis on running outside, and it's explosive work. We try to compete in everything we do. So a lot of times we buddy up, and we're racing. We're trying to tag each other. Any way we can, we're going to race. And then we have a board in there that we track speed, strength, vertical jumps, broad jumps, and we rank everybody 1 to however many's on the team. And your goal is to PR, right? And so that has pushed this team to learn to compete. That I may not be number 1, but hey, if I'm number 21, I want to be the 20, right? And so that's been a big shift this offseason, is we're trying to build the competitiveness of this team.
So we're about 3 weeks away from Jamboree, which is hard to believe. It seems like we just got out of school last week.
Yeah.
What do you want the identity of this team to be after week 10, 11, 12, how far you get into the season?
Well, I mean, our ultimate goal is to be a good football team. Last year we were 5-5, and so we were average, which is good. It was a good year. but we were very close to making the playoffs and being a good football team. And so that's what our big push is that, hey, we said from the get-go, we want to be a good football team. Good football teams go to the playoffs. So our big push this offseason is, not only do we have to get better, but the details have to matter. And so the little things and pushing us over that edge to, how can we get one more point or, one more stop that at the end of the game we're going to make the play to win.
So we talked for a few minutes before we started about your freshman class. A pretty good sized group. Have any of those guys really stepped out so far and impressed you as far as jumping into your program, what's expected? Yeah,
so they've jumped in, full force. They've been awesome to this group. I've been excited about them again. I've kind of told them, you guys be the ones that get in the weight room earlier than everybody else, in this program as they get 4 full years. Of getting stronger, that we'll reap the benefits of it their senior year. And they're a big group, and so that there's pieces there that can step up for us. A couple of them have a shot to play special teams for us on varsity. But at the end of the day, the Monday nights, I would tell them, hey, this is your time to shine, baby. The lights are on, scoreboard's on, let's go play, let's get better. And this group is answered the bell. In June, we kind of keep the freshmen a little separate from the varsity. We come back in July, that's when we start mixing them in with the varsity. And so, again, we still protect them a little bit, but still, we've got some of them that are jumping in there right out the gate, ready to roll.
So as far as fans in the stands, what can they expect to see out of your team on Friday night, Thursday night, as far as your offense and your defense goes? Will it stay the same?
Yeah.
Add new wrinkles?
Right. Offensively, we'll be pretty similar. We might be a little heavier in 11 personnel than we were last year. We've got some 12 personnel. But still pretty similar. We want to run the ball at the end of the day. We want to run the ball and then spread the ball out to our athletes and try to move the ball down the field. Defensively, very similar to last year. We're going to be aggressive. We've added a couple things on both sides of the ball, but for the most part, it's the same system. Just different kids. That's the biggest thing. Is we return about half the starters on offense and defense, and so just the new faces. Who's going to step up? Who's going to step in? And who's going to make plays for us?
So, kind of looking back to last year, how does it change your program losing a veteran quarterback that's been in the Seymour system like Madden?
Yeah. Madden will, he'll always be special to me being the first quarterback here. I'll give him credit. He's the first lefty I've coached, but I never held it against him. But definitely going to miss Madden. He was the calm presence in the room. We had a really good relationship. He could tell me, hey, I'm thinking this, or, he'd come over, hey, Coach, what are you thinking? We could communicate back and forth. So definitely things going to change. He became valuable with his legs too. He always had the arm strength, but last year he started using his legs and extending plays, and that was a big jump for him that made our offense tough to defend. And so this year we've got a senior quarterback and a sophomore quarterback battling it out. Brody Free, the senior, and then Levi Carlson, the sophomore. Two different skill sets, so really almost two different offenses with them. The bread and butter is still the same with both, but we're trying to mold the offense to what each one of them is good at. And I'm a believer that your gunslinger is the one that decides what you can and can't do, and then after that it's the O-line, right? The receivers and running backs are just going to figure it out, but from quarterback to O-line standpoint, that's always what has decided, hey, what player are we good at? That's what we're going to run.
Okay, so looking at the schedule this year, really strong competition.
Yeah.
Greenville again, Elizabeth, and
right.
3 county teams.
Yep.
How does a game like Greenville last year, even though the score says one thing,
yeah,
being here watching that game, knowing going into halftime, it was like 14-3, y'all were playing your butts off.
Yeah.
How does a game like that propel your team with momentum?
They answered the call last year. I mean, last year going into Greenville week, we knew what we were facing, right? And I remember talking to him early. I said, hey, I'm asking you to go compete for one play. Like, how many times are we going to get up off the mat and keep swinging? Everybody was coming to watch that game to see us tap out, and I thought we didn't tap out. We fought to the end. Obviously the score got away from us, but in the third quarter it's 28-3. In the end of the third quarter, it was 35-6. So the running clock didn't happen till the fourth quarter. We still lost. We don't celebrate, no moral victories here. But the biggest thing is I just kept asking our team, hey, keep swinging. And they did that. That was big. That was huge for us that we decided that, hey, we're going to fight with everything we have. Doesn't matter who's in front of us. Doesn't matter what the score is. Let's go fight. And so that was the first step that I wanted to see our program, our team take. And now it's, hey, now I want you to execute for 4 quarters, right? I've got to take the game plan, and I've got to do my job for 4 quarters. Fighting for 4 is good. That's the first step. Now we got to make the next jump and start fighting and executing for 4 quarters.
So I know no coach wants to say one game is bigger than the other.
Yeah.
But 3 county rivals, you've got GP, Northview, and Pigeon Forge.
Right.
Almost just right out of the bat, GP and Pigeon Forge.
Right.
How big are those games for like community pride even?
Yeah. So the GP game right out the gate. That last year was probably the best environment we played in. It was up at their place, but our side was packed full. Their side was full. That's what Friday night's supposed to look like. That was 2 communities coming together, cheering on their teams. And so I expect the same thing here this year. I expect the GP game to be packed out in here. You talk to the longtime people of this community, that's their rival. That the Gatlinburg game is big to them. And then we go to Pigeon Forge this year, number 2, and then Northview's the middle of the year, but this year it's at Northview, but we get to play on TV for that game. When you talk to our kids, the Northview's probably their rival, just because the proximity is a little closer. But the veterans of this community like to point out that Gatlinburg is the game that they got circled on the schedule. So for me, it's it's what Friday night's supposed to be about, those community games. It's great that we're all playing each other again. And then the Northview game is big because it's a playoff game. It's a region game, so that could be the difference in us going to the playoffs or not. So for us, though, we're 1 game at a time. Our goal board's in there that for offense, defense, special teams, I only put 1 opponent up at a time. I don't want us looking at anybody else this week. The only team that shows up on Friday is the only team we can beat, so I'm not worried about somebody that's not going to be here. So you just got to hammer in that, hey, these are important, this is big, but hey, the next game is the most important game because that's actually who's going to be here Friday.
How important is it to your program to get off to a good start this year, maybe rattle off a couple of wins?
Yeah, it would be huge if we get that momentum going early. Again, last year we grew big time from game 1 to game 10. Our goal is, hey, if we can start the game 10 momentum in game 1, now how much growth can we go from this year and keep climbing? That's the biggest thing, is we keep saying, like, hey, we haven't made it yet. We haven't made it to where we want to be. Hey, we're still moving, we're progressing where I want us to be, but we haven't made it to that mountaintop yet. So we got to keep working every day to get a little bit better. And again, every win's a confidence booster, at the end of the day. So if we can get those early, that will set us on the right track for the rest of the season.
So after the Greenville game was the first time I met you last year.
Yeah.
And I immediately told you how the culture to me seemed like it completely changed. How big, and of course that's one of the biggest parts of this program.
Yeah.
How big and important was that for you to kind of get your culture built in here?
Yeah.
What you expect out of the kids, out of the parents, out of the whole community.
Yeah. So, last year, we were still trying to get to know each other a little bit, it felt like. As we had to keep working on it all the way through the year. We never got to where we wanted to be, but the biggest thing is they understood. Now they know what I expect. I'm a big believer, that kids don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. And so that was the big shift for me this off season. That stuff that was important to me is what I needed to inspect, right? That's the stuff I need to track. And I need to address stuff immediately, right? In practice, a kid loses his cool, right? I can't just say, like, hey, you be all right. Hey, in the game, that's 15-yard penalty, right? And so this year we started addressing stuff quickly to try to jump on it early, right? Because the longer I let it fester, the worse it's going to be.
Absolutely.
And so, again, this team right here, we've spent a lot of time in small groups, talking about life, trying to build the bond that we want to have for this team, because that locker room is what is special. And so, every decision I make is a 10-year decision. I want the culture to not graduate. The kids change in that locker room, but standards don't. And so that's been our big shift this offseason.
So along those lines, what values do you want that group to carry to the field every Friday night, Thursday night, whenever the game might be?
Right this year, our motto is dominate the moment. And I put it on the front bumper of the helmets. I want them to see that. As soon as I look at a teammate, that's what I'm reminded of. That whatever the moment is, I'm going to go dominate. It's second down, make the play, right? That we can't let first down affect second down, right? One bad play can't affect the next play. So, hey, live in the moment, dominate the moment. That's in life, that's in the field, wherever it is, the weight room, right? This moment, I've got to lift this bar 6 times, whatever it is. Hey, move it as fast and as violent as you can, right? And so, that's the biggest thing is we've really tried to shift our mindset of not just thinking about the end, right? Hey, in this moment right here, this is what I got to get done and do my job.
So more of the community, and I noticed on social media last year that your team went out with the youth football teams and got involved with their practice, had fun with them. How important it is to you to get involved in that youth league program, hoping and getting those kids here to Seymour High School?
It's crucial. It's crucial. I want all those kids to dream about being Eagles. At the end of the day, that's the whole goal. I grew up in a small town and born and raised, and so like as a little kid, I dreamed about being that high school football player, right? And so that's what I want to have opportunities for our team to say, like, hey, those kids look up to you. Like, you may not realize it, but they hope and dream to be you one day. And this year, our first scrimmage, we're doing free T-shirts to all the little kids that show up. The players are going to sign autographs. Again, it's a moment that, hey, they're going to hold on to that T-shirt. And when they get in high school, I hope they've got 10 T-shirts, right? And they get to say, hey, remember this guy? That you leave a legacy here. That's my goal, is that you leave a legacy that's worth it, that I can look back on my time here at Seymour football, right, the player, and say, I'm proud I was a part of that program. But it starts in that youth program. It starts with the relationship with the youth and in the junior high program as well. We're all aligned. We all work together. Anything we can do to help each other out, we try to do it the best we can. And so last year, somebody came up with the idea, hey, let's go over and practice with them, right? They were getting ready for the playoffs. We had a bye week right there, and so Monday night we loaded up on a bus and drove across the street here, and I said, all right, divide up. There's 3 teams. Here we go. Put the football down, snap it, and so those little kids had a great time. As soon as we get off the bus, they're chanting "We ready" and stuff. It was just an awesome experience. And again, that's our goal, is that this is a family. That this program is about this community, and everybody in that locker room is for Seymour.
So getting into the last couple of questions, how do you define a successful season for the year 2026 for Seymour Eagles?
Wins and losses do matter. It's not an end-all be-all, but at the end of the day, our goal is to make the playoffs, right? So we definitely want to make the playoffs, and then it's when these seniors have senior night, they're going to blink and they're going to be out here for their senior night, that it means something to them, right? That they are glad they came out and played for this program. That 10 years from now, that's probably the hardest part in coaching, is you really don't see your success until a decade later, when those guys come back and say, Coach, I'm so happy I played here, and they have fun memories. And so, this year, that everybody stays bought in the whole time, and we keep the main thing, which is Seymour. That's been a motto for us in our small group sessions, is talking about the team over me, that I'm going to sacrifice for the betterment of my team.
So last question. Seymour's always had great community support.
Yes.
Stands are always packed.
Yep.
They're rowdy. They're crazy.
Yep.
Tons of food vendors.
Yep.
It's almost like a party atmosphere when you get here.
Yeah.
What would you like the fans to know about this year's team?
Mm-hmm.
What statement do you have for the fans?
They are excited to see you. They're probably tired of looking at me and people win in our competitions out here. I yell, strike up the band, like we scored a touchdown. We're ready to get in front of our fans, and again, that's probably what makes this place special, is even when there's down years here, the fans still come out and support these kids. That's the biggest thing, is that these guys work hard and are willing to to step out, I mean, in the arena, right, and fail publicly sometimes. There's a lot of fear there, but when you look up in the stands and you got all these people that are cheering you on, right, hey, to me, it's, man, I got to go perform for them, right? Hey, they want me to do well, I need to go perform for them. You know, that, again, this is a family atmosphere. This is small town high school football. It's what it's supposed to be.
So I did think of one other.
Yeah.
So the Fly Eagles Fly after the game, after the win, you go running to the band. Whose idea was that? Has it been here? I had never seen it. I thought it was a really cool thing for your team.
To my knowledge, it was here before I got here. When we won the first game against Pigeon Forge, that was the first win here at home in a couple of years, I believe. As the year before I got here, the 2 wins were on the road. The year before that, we went 0-10. So, I mean, our freshmen were looking around like, why is everybody so excited, right? And, you know, it was the upperclassmen. That was the first time they'd won in front of their home fans in a long time. So it was really cool to see. And so the students and the players and the cheer and dance all run down to the band on the other end. You know, it's just it's a cool tradition we have here. I take no credit on that. That is not me. You know, after wins, I try to get out of the way, right? Celebrate the players. You know, they're the ones that work hard and put all the effort in. They deserve all the glory. And so, again, it's been really cool to see some of the videos from the stands, to watch the wave of people run down the field. But, again, that's another part of, hey, we want this to be, it's a community effort. You know, that this is a program, it's not a team, that, hey, we want everybody involved, and we want to celebrate with everybody.
All right, thanks, Coach, for your time. Good luck this year.
Thank you.